Hello again. The time is now 5:05. I would like to officially start our meeting. And my name is Ayabami Bell Torrance, and I am the Outreach Ambassador for Ddot. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight for our monthly community input meeting. Tonight is a little special as we will still provide our departmental updates, but as many of you have requested from past meetings, tonight is your chance to focus on the Arpa funding. So with that, I will go straight into our introductions. I will start with our Executive Director of Transit. Or actually, he may be still getting on, so I apologize. Let me go as I see. Mr. Zek.
Good evening, everyone. Richard Zek, Chief Safety Officer.
Ms. Wimberly.
Good evening, I'm Zandra Wimberly, Assistant Director, Administration.
Mr. Bonnie, excuse me. If you could hear, if you could just introduce yourself to us. Okay. We'll come back. Ms. Taylor.
Hi, I'm Orlando Taylor from Customer Service.
Williams.
Hi, I'm Ms. Williams from Ddot's Customer Service. I'm the supervisor there.
Thank you. Mr. Watson.
Hi, my name is Steve Watson. I am the city's budget director.
I was talking, they could not hear.
Thank you. Mr. Lozen.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. I'm Don Lozen, the Regulatory Compliance Officer for ADA.
Thank you. Ms. Moore.
Good evening, everyone. I am Simone Moore from TransStaff, the General Manager for Paratransit.
Mr. Granger.
Good evening, I'm Robert Granger, Interim Assistant Director of Maintenance.
Mr. Barkley.
Good evening, Melvin Barkley, Assistant Director of Operations for Ddot.
Mr. Patronet.
Here we go. Steve Patronic, Executive Manager for Service Development and Scheduling.
Ms. Walsh.
Mary Ann Walsh, Deputy Director of Administration. And Ayobami, I do see that Michael was able to get in, so if we can have him introduce himself.
Absolutely. Mr. Oglesby.
I made it. Technology is something else, isn't it? Michael Oglesby, the Executive Director for the City of Detroit. I'm really excited tonight. Hopefully we can get through all of the beginning stuff and get right to the ARPA fund items. I will assure everybody that originally we were dedicating 1 hour to ARPA and we will stick to it.
Thank you for that. And I believe that's everyone. I wanted to give Mr. Bonnie, if you want to give it one more time. I believe that was
Jordan Bani, Project Manager.
Thank you. Did I miss anyone else?
Lois Pittman. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Lois Pittman, Deputy Director for Ddot.
Thank you. Okay, seeing or hearing no others, it is time now for our meeting rules, which again, since tonight we're focusing on the ARPA funding, this means that the public comment section will take place following that ARPA presentation from our Executive Director of Transit. But as always, when that time comes, no personal attacks or foul language will be tolerated. You'll have a minute for your comments, but if time allows, you will have another opportunity to speak again. So please respect the time and note that you may be muted for going over. Now, any comments not relating to the ARPA presentation, they may be placed in the chat or emailed to us, at d.comments@detroitmi.gov. Again, we really want to focus tonight's attention on ARPA. So when the comment time comes, that is your opportunity to give your input for that. Please also be aware that tonight's meeting will end promptly at 6:30. And as we begin the first part of our presentation, I just want to remind you that by participating in this Zoom meeting, you are granting permission for your name, your image, likeness, as well as audio and video recordings to be used by Ddot. If you would like to comment, you would use the raise hand function. If you are using the dial-in only phone option, you can simply enter the *9, and that will serve as your raise hand function feature to request to speak or to ask a question. And again, you can submit questions or comments to Ddot staff in the chat once that's open. Before asking a question or comment, we ask that you unmute your audio. Please state your name and your organization. And following your comments, please mute your audio. As far as our updates to share tonight, effective April 25th, Ddot will be reinstating the 11 Claremont and the 7 Tireman routes. The routes will operate on the weekdays only. And for your awareness, we mentioned to you before about the COA, the Comprehensive Operational Analysis, what is now called Ddot Reimagined. And this is a massive rethinking of the system to make a brighter Detroit, and outreach is coming soon. So again, stay on the lookout. A great update from customer service. On March 3rd, Ddot launched an after-hours voicemail for customer service. To use after hours, you call customer service at 313-933-1300, then press 3 and follow the prompts. Customers should leave detailed information about their comments or complaints, and that's including their name, their route, the direction, location, and time of incident. A customer service representative will return your call during normal business hours. When it comes to our recruitment, as always, Ddot is still hiring, so help us spread the word. For more information about Ddot employment opportunities, please visit detroitmi.gov/Ddot. Ddot is an equal employment opportunity employer. And we would like to let you know that our latest Ddot TEO class is expected to start on March 21st. And that class consists of about 24 potential new recruits. And if you haven't heard the word, the federal government has extended requirements for travelers to wear masks on public transportation, including buses, through April 18th of this year in response to the ongoing risk of COVID-19 pandemic. So again, that is through April 18th at this time. And lastly, our next community input meeting will take place Thursday, April 21st, same time at 5 p.m. That is all the departmental updates I have at this time. I would like to now turn it over to our Executive Director of Transit, who will bring to you the Arpa presentation, Mr. Michael Oglesby.
Very good. Thank you, Ayabami, for that information. I'll wait till it gets up on the screen here. Put it in slide mode, and here we are. So here we are, Motown Moves, Transit Vision. And what we're going to do today is go over potential ARPA projects, hear from you, and take that base and expand it and or add to it or go whatever direction you want to go. This is one of many meetings that we're going to have on this. Next slide, please. So let's talk about ARPA funds, American Rescue Plan Act. It's funds focused on potential one-time projects that will enhance transit mobility in Detroit. How might you, or how might Ddot, but I'm going to say how might you spend $51 million in ARPA funds over the next 3 years? Remember, this is over a 3-year period. What do you think is more important? We're going to ask you that question at the end. Do you have other potential projects that should be considered other than the ones that I've listed here? And just for clarity, the ones that I've listed are an accumulation of what has been said at our meetings over the past 18 months. Next slide. Okay, so I think it's important to lay some ground rules. So what can ARPA funds be used for? I know there's been some confusion, so I want to go slow on the slide. You can use it to stabilize service, improve customer experience, invest in core capital projects, and invest in regional projects that support economic recovery and address COVID impacts. Let's talk about what it can't be used for. It can't be used for pension fund payments, paying off debt, paying for pre-COVID obligations, and increased personnel. Next slide. So before I get into the ARPA funds, I'm going to go over a couple of things because a lot of people have been asking, you know, with these grants, what's been going on at Ddot? You've heard about State Fair. City of Detroit's redeveloping a portion of the State Fairgrounds on Woodward and 8 Mile. It includes an opportunity to add additional transit center to our network. We have a first mile at Rosa Parks. I mean, first stop and second end, the end of the line is going to be State Fair. Ddot's working with the DBA on the transit center, and the expected completion date is toward the first quarter of 2023. Next slide, please. Coolidge, you've heard a lot about Coolidge. It's moving forward. It's replacing the old Coolidge terminal, new construction of about 148 buses. And the facility will have future expansion for 216. It's still in development. We're currently in the architecture and engineering phase, but it is moving along, and we expect the target completion date of December 2024. Next slide. Bus electrification. A lot of people have called about this, so I have to let you know. On September 2019, we moved forward with SMART and were awarded a grant. Well, we've moved forward, and now we have those buses here. We're preparing them for the road. We'll do a launch pretty soon, and just stay tuned. They're coming soon. You see one of them up on a lift right there. That's what it's going to look like. Next slide. And then other capital projects, I just listed them here. We purchased 28 diesel buses, new diesel buses. They have arrived. We're in the process of putting barrier doors on them, and they'll be out in the street replacing those old 2010s that you see going around. We have another 20 estimated to come in at the end of the year. So you're going to see a lot of new buses going through here. 48 out of 59 new ad shelters were installed, and the remainder will be completed by the end of 2022. Ddot's in the first phase to purchase non-revenue commercial relief vehicles and support vehicles. So we've got a lot going on. Next slide. Before I get into the specifics of ARPA, because I really want to kind of lay out what we think, and then we want to hear what you think. From a financial standpoint, I've asked finance to come in and do a few slides to give us an update from a financial perspective. Steve Watson. Steve?
Thank you, Michael. So yes, as Michael explained earlier in the presentation, the ARPA transit grant that the city will receive, it can be used for 4 purposes: stabilize service, improve customer service, invest in core capital projects, and invest in regional projects. And just to lay out a few numbers real quick. So the entire Southeastern Michigan region was allocated about $162 million of ARPA formula transit grants administered through the RTA. As we talked about at the beginning, Detroit's share of that is 51 million. So I just wanted to clear up that sometimes a much bigger number has been thrown out there of over $100 million. That's for Ddot, SMART, Ann Arbor, the whole region. Ddot's share is just 51 million. And so as we're of course going to talk about tonight, some potential projects. One thing that we have going on at the same time right now is the city's or the mayor's proposed fiscal year 2023 budget, with city council hearings happening right now. I just came from one about an hour ago. And if you can go to the next slide, one of the things baked into that budget proposal is the use of the first $10 million of this ARPA transit grant to replace ongoing fare losses and stabilize service during fiscal year 23. Our current revenue projections assume that Fare revenue will remain depressed for the next fiscal year. And while the budget includes a substantial increase from the general fund for Ddot, $25.8 million, which includes restoring all baseline funding that had been reduced during the peak of the pandemic and offset with other transit relief. It also includes $5.8 million to support expansion and improvements in paratransit service, as well as other Ddot expenses. The last remaining piece was about was an ongoing fare loss that this grant would cover. In future years, as fares recover, that future fare recovery will replace the one-time use of this $10 million from the grant. And again, the idea here is this is in keeping with one of the core principles of this funding, one of which is stabilizing service.
Very good. Thank you, Steve. That's a perfect segue into the potential buckets, the amount of money available, and what some of the solutions could be to offset that amount of money. We still could get to 51 million go, depending on how this comes out as far as what people think is important and not important. There are other grants that are available. There's infrastructure grants that can apply to some of these topics. So I'm not as concerned about the 51 million. I'm still going to continue to go through this process as if it's 51 million, because this is really about priorities. We need to know your priorities. If you give us your priorities, we're going to make the numbers work. So for example, if the priorities end up being fully transit connecting hubs, and I'll explain what those are, there are other grants that we could go for. And if I could get 10 million for that, then that would offset it. And then we could get everything that everybody's asking for. So don't be discouraged by hearing it's not 51 million anymore, it's 41 million. So that's why I wanted to put this here. The total of what we have calculated right now is at 51 million, but really, again, the focus is going to be on the actual projects themselves. So remember, the rules are one-time expenses over a 3-year period. I can't emphasize that enough. Some people have come forward with ideas, and they're great ideas. And by the way, if you do put some out that don't apply, we're still going to write them down and take note. They're still going to get credit, and we will be discussing them probably at the next meetings moving forward. Don't get discouraged if we're going over a lot of information and it's just either hard to follow or you want more information, because this is the first of a few meetings. As a matter of fact, I'm going to already tell you that I have the next meeting set up for April 6th, and I've asked for the Detroit People platform to assist. So we're going to partner in the next one to make sure that we get more people to give more information. And then the schedule at that meeting, I'll have a full schedule, and I'll have other partners like the Transit Riders Union and Motor City Freedom Riders. So your input's going to be very important. We're going to partner at each one of these meetings. We're going to get all of the information that we can. Next slide, please. So let's get to it. What are some of the potential projects? I showed you at the very beginning just kind of a layout of what they could go towards. For example, the first one was bus shelter. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what that could mean. It's really to improve the customer wait experience. So you have bus shelters. We could have solar power bus shelters. The calculation here is off about 350 replaced. Next trip real-time bus displays. Green light cameras with Ddot transit police monitoring. I'm really hot on that concept. A lot of people have come up with that idea. I love it. And I also like the idea of doing it on buses, which we'll talk about later. Lighting and USB charging ports, improved maintenance and cleaning. And again, add next trip displays, kind of similar to what you see here. I think if we did this type of enhancement, we'd go a long way. This doesn't mean we're just locked into this. There are other technologies that are out there that are pro ADA. There's a lot of stuff out here, but really what we'd be asking is this the category that you think we should be investing money in? Next slide. Bus stop seating. we all know there's not a lot of seating out here. So this could be anything from benches to semi seats. What you see here is semi seats. These are a unique concept and not very, very expensive, but they're actually a seat that can slide over an existing pole. So if you see here in the picture in the upper left-hand corner, you see two people with a place to have a seat in a location that doesn't have a cement pad. You hear over and over again, well, we can't put something down if it doesn't have a cement pad. There are other options. So these would be options that we look at to enhance our current experience. So we'd have the seats that we have now, we'd have replacement shelters and potentially more seats and more benches. So with seating something that you're interested in, we want to hear from you. Next slide. This one I'm going to go slow on because this is a very important slide, and don't be discouraged about those tiny little pictures in the right-hand corner. I'll blow them up for you in a little bit. But beyond bus stop seating, this is larger than that. So today, Ddot has only 2 transit centers, Rosa Parks and State Fair. People need to safely transfer between Ddot routes and SMART and other locations as well. And there are up to 16 new transit connection hubs with improved waiting areas is what we're proposing. New security and information technology are possible. Arpa project, the locations would be considered in the upcoming COA, but we do have a brief idea of where they could be, and that's how we're able to come up with the dollar amount. So if you could click on the first image. So connection corners. The first question is, what is that? Well, at the intersection of 2 Connect 10 routes, a connection corner facilitates transfers between routes with enhanced bus stop amenities and pedestrian-friendly environment. Upgraded transfer points will be essential in restructuring outdated or low ridership routes. In other words, we have a bunch of Connect 10s and they all cross at certain locations and they're busy. So why don't we do something about it? At those locations, why don't we put in in-lane bus stop, high visibility crosswalks, distinctive site markers, enhance the landscaping, have a station area, and have a station ramp. So this would be, and all of these items are listed as far as the location of each thing that I've put in place. But though it sounds like something that's very simple, this would just beautify Detroit. It would unify Ddot, the Connect 10, and it would unify SMART. So I think this is a great potential. And again, this all falls under one bucket. So if you're interested in any of these, then this would be the bucket for you. Could we go to the next image, please? And then we have mobility transit hubs. So what does this mean? This is more of an enhanced portion of it. Mobility transit hub would integrate other mobility options such as biking, car share, e-scooters into small neighborhood exchanges for transit with additional amenities and operational features. So, I mean, here, take a look at what you could have. Imagine major intersections and major locations. It does not have to be Connect 10. We know where a majority of them are located, and I actually have them in front of me from Woodward and Manchester and Gratiot to McClellan all the way to Morose and Mac. So there are a bunch of locations that these could take place. And we would have in-lane stops, high visibility crosswalks like we have at the other ones, distinctive site markers and refuge islands. But just imagine bike racks, bike share stations, e-scooter parking, bus layover space, which you see in the upper corner, number 8. Restroom for drivers, which would be right in that area, lighting, landscaping, car share, which you see at number 12 over there, a retail kiosk or the ability to purchase a pass at that location. I mean, this would take public transportation to the next level in the city of Detroit. We have the opportunity to do this. Next slide, or the next close-up. The next close-up is just bus stop elements, some of the elements that you could have inside of a bus stop. So, you know, raised platform for level boarding, detectable warming strip, premium shelter, real-time arrival, as mentioned before, but now signature lighting, distinctive site markers, fair vending machines, bike racks again, trash cans, seating, station ramps. So between the three of these, the sky's the limit. Not only that, there's other technology that can be added to this, up to including making it safer with a solar light that you could actually press at nighttime that would put a spotlight on you if you didn't feel safe. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity here, but this one bucket, I think, is an opportunity, and it's something that I've heard from all of you, and we've combined it all in these slides. Next actual slide, please. Rosa Parks. I've heard about Rosa Parks. You've talked about Rosa Parks. So let's talk about putting some money in Rosa Parks to enhance it. The Rosa Parks Transit Center is a key stop for many Ddot transit customers and the face of Ddot for now until State Fair comes, and it'll be the second phase. But the transit center has not kept pace with customer expectations or as a positive downtown public space. So let's do something about it. Some of the potential Arpa projects, and again, I'm sure you can give me more ideas, but a safe space for the youth, reopen retail and enhance the building so it can handle that. New operator restrooms, dedicated operating staff there, real-time trip displays, similar to any place you've been in Amtrak, you've looked up, there are huge signs. Why don't we do something like that? And the list goes on and on. But if you feel that an investment in Rosa Parks is where some of the ARPA funds should be, then this one's for you. Next slide. On bus safety, I've heard about that, so we put it in. Enhanced safety on the bus for both customers and operators. New and improved video monitoring, which would be more coverage and clarity. We'd replace everything on that bus with something that's a little more modern and cloud-based. There are new electronic air filters that are out there. It continuously cleans the air inside the bus. So why don't we do that? There are actually some that are out there now that are ionizers that have been approved to reduce COVID. So perhaps that's an option, whether it's COVID or another pandemic. Even if it isn't, we need to make sure that we need to help people with the ongoing health battle. So these systems are the same systems that you have in a hospital, but they would be on every single bus. Next slide. Enhanced fare technology. Now, you already heard that we were going to be moving forward with fare box technology. This is taking it to another level. We're talking about boarding and making boarding and paying easier with some of the new technology, similar to what you see here. Update the fare payment options and introduce a permanent all-door boarding option, which is boarding from the rear of the door, or the mid-bus fare reader, which you see here in this picture for smart cards and smartphone apps. Cash would still be taken at the front of the box, front fare box, but we still have to take into consideration what can we do to move forward to bring us to the next level. This is a great opportunity. We'd have to coordinate with SMART to move towards a fully integrated, seamless regional system of transit and fare payment for customers. But that's an opportunity. If this is something that you want, then we can move forward with that. This is an estimate of taking the per unit cost and multiplying it by 288 buses, which is how many that we have here. And again, all of these numbers can change and it's fluid based on what is important to you. I believe that's the last slide. So your input matters. What do you think of the proposed funding priorities? What would you rank as the most important? What are you willing to give up? And what is missing and what would you add? So this is how this is going to go. We're going to ask you what is important to you. But after you say which one is important, and we can scroll back and do whatever you want to do. But once you say, which one is important to you. For example, if you say, I think on the bus safety that you propose, I really think that should be top priority. I'm then going to say to you, or Ayobami and we'll probably do the dual Monty Hall thing here for those who, unless I'm dating myself, those who knew who Monty Hall is. I know Kristen looked a little confused there. But what we're going to do is we're going to ask what you like. So let's say you say bus safety. Then we're going to say, which one would you take money away from to help pay for the one that you like? And let's say bus stop seating isn't as important to you, then you'd say that. And really, that's what we're looking for in this interaction. And if you don't see something here that you want to add on, feel free. I will make sure that we will let you know whether it's something that's within the parameters of the actual funding. But if it isn't, again, we will still mark it down and keep track of everything that everybody says. So your vote, your opinion not only matters, but will be driving how we spend this funding. So I think we're going to leave this up. And Ayobami?
Okay, again, it is time now. We're going to leave that up for you all to see, and we'll time now for your public comments. I do want to, in case anyone missed it in the beginning, again, these comments are for the proposed priorities regarding to ARPA. So if you do have any other additional comments that you feel that you need to share tonight, please put them in the chat only, or you may email it to us also. Again, 1 minute, we'll try to keep that so that we see a lot of hands up, so we want to make sure we can get to everyone, but if we have extra time, we will allow for a second round as well. So I would like to now actually turn over to my colleague, Kristen, who will call our first person, and I'll be keeping track of your priorities.
Okay, the first hand up is Ms. Stewart. So state your name for the record, unmute yourself. So first, Ms., state your name, and then take a look at the list to tell us which is your highest priority.
Hello, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, there you go.
Good evening, Director Olsby and the Ddot staff. I'm looking at everything here. I would say transit connection hubs, but also, I have something to say about some of this proposed ARPA funding. Essential bus riders need that low income fare program that will reduce the fare by 75% for those individual families up to 200% the poverty level. And that would expand qualifications for reduced fares to families and individuals experiencing homelessness, low to low income households, returning citizens, and veterans. This is in line with the Ddot recommendation outlined in your low income fare analysis on November the 19th, 2019. I'm in hopes that you would take 10 million from the ARPA funding and 10 million from the city, and this program can be put into motion as a pilot program. And hopes of great consideration by Ddot and the city council and the mayor. But I am so glad that you have brought paratransit back into in-house and some of the things that you do have up here today. And I will waive my time for someone else.
Very good. Rochella, before you get off, so I can just be clear.
Oh, I did need to say, I am Detroit People's Platform.
Oh, yes, I do. And don't worry, we're at the next go round when y'all are hosting us. I'm sure we're going to get really deep into this, but I just want to ask you one quick question. So if you had something to support, would it be, if you had to pick one, would it be the transit connecting hubs, or would it be a low income fare? What are you looking at as your top?
Low income fare.
Okay,
and low income fare, but I do like everything you have up here, the transit connection hub.
But I'm putting you in my position. See, I only have a certain amount of money.
I'm gonna go for the low income fare.
Okay,
because
good.
It's really badly needed, at this time after COVID, and there's so many families in distress that really need this. And eventually they're gonna get back on their feet, so they won't need this program, and will be an asset to Ddot. So doing it at this time would help.
I understand. And then what would be your number two that you would pick that is actually on here?
The transit connection hubs.
Okay, now that I have the top, what is your low? Which one would you remove if you had to remove one? I know you like them all, but which one would you say isn't as important?
Oh, God.
Now you know how I feel. Go ahead.
Yeah. Maybe, oh Lord, maybe the bus stop seating, because we need on-bus safety, the enhanced fare technology, transit connection hubs, and bus stop shelters. So I know we need seating, but maybe that would be my last one, because we would have the shelters with seating.
No, I understand. I mean, we need all of it. I understand that. But the reason why I asked you is because I'm writing down low income fare. We're going to track it. But one of the tricks to low income fare is that even if we took 10 million and put it towards that, how would we maintain it? That's going to be a separate discussion that we'll have. But again, the funding is over a 3-year period. So if I started something that I couldn't continue, it would be even worse. So there'd have to be a whole plan behind that to keep it going. You already know when you say pilot program, there's nothing more permanent than a temporary situation. So once it's set up, it's there. But I appreciate you, and we're going to put that in the list, and we'll continue to move forward. So thank you.
But you know what, Director Osby, I know with improved transit, with that program being in place, people will be able to get out here and get better jobs, be able to go back to that fare, that complete fare that they should pay. It would enhance so many things. Businesses would be doing better. The whole city would do better.
I understand. I think the low income fare discussion is bigger than ARPA, but we might need to take that off the table and talk about that on another platform. But thank you for that information.
Okay, and you have a good day.
You too.
Okay, thank you. The next hand I see is Ms. Austin.
Hello, can you hear me pretty good?
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Hello, Mr. Oglesby. How are you doing this evening?
Couldn't be better. How are you?
I'm doing great. Well, I see here that I guess I'm wondering if communication would be my biggest one to add as a priority, considering the fact that not everybody is tech savvy as it relates to the bus ridership. Also adding to the ADA for ride share services, etc. Bus fare, the applications, I would think that would go along with the enhanced fare technologies as it relates to communication, because there's been several acts in the archives that the ADA community, as well as the veterans, returned citizens, and just everyday all around people.
That's time.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, hold on. I wanted to finish.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that extension. Just so that it relates to just in general as a whole, but basically that part. So myself, I'm ADA, I have the glove, I appreciate the glove, but I may be one of many that have that glove and able to ride the bus. Now, with that being said, let's say I don't have a computer at home. Let's say I don't have an up-to-date phone. Let's say the communication maybe for me is mail. I don't have a computer. I don't have an email. Where would I fit in as to receive repetitively that guarantee that in the mail that you are sending me something to update me as far as my bus card? I have a fare card, reduced fare card that I utilize on the bus. And you know, how would that help me?
I understand.
Let's say if I'm a returning citizen, or just basically in general, how would that help me as far as the communication piece?
I understand. So when you say communication, you're talking about for those who don't have the technology, how do we get the communication out to you? Maybe we do it old school via snail mail and or mailers. Is that what you're referring to?
Well, yes, that's always been a more reliable, though everyone is not adapted to it. And that being said, we can't assume that everyone's tech savvy. We have to assume that we have a variety, a gumbo of choices that we would have to accommodate so that it's fair across the board as it relates to, let's say, our government agencies that assist individuals to be employable or not. And those individuals that ride, that have wheelchairs, the wait time,
I understand.
that has to be on par with with the service, the communication piece, so that I can make my next move and not have to worry about, being out in the elements an hour or two,
So, no, okay, Jacqueline, I understand fully what you're saying. First of all,
Mhm.
I see how I said I gave you a little more time. You took another 2 minutes. I see how you are. But
Thanks so much.
hey, this is what I think. I think based when it comes to the mailers, we recently have and we put something on the website and we're going to be sending it out, but we're telling people if they want information via a mailer to contact customer service and get the information to them. And for those that have a computer, they can go online and it indicates where they can, request it. So we are looking at that. So that'll be something that we're going to be moving forward with outside of ARPA, but thank you for bringing it to our attention. Some others have brought it to our attention and we've elevated that. I'll have staff get in touch with you. I know we have your information. I also will say that I know you did mention that bus fare applications could be one of the positives. So my question to you is, if you move forward with the investment of what you've requested of this list, which one would you take money from?
That's going to be a hard one.
I understand.
For me, because it's all important, but what I would be an additive would be added to it is the communications piece, because again, if I don't have a computer, if I don't have a up-to-date cell phone, I may just only rely on the mail. And so if you have my information via the bus fare card that I have, right now, I may only depend on that. And if that's all I have, I am going to look to you to be attentive on that and to understand that if this is how I'm receiving my information via mail, I would think that near the anniversary of my renewal, that is set in place. I may be blind, we don't know, but that would be something that I would expect as a customer receiving a service.
Understood. I don't mean to cut you off, but we're gonna move forward. But this is what I'm gonna do.
So much.
We're gonna write down communication as one of the additives. And as far as you still won't pick one to take some money from. No, you got to help me out. Where am I gonna find money? I only have a certain amount.
It's hard. It's hard. It's like being at an expensive restaurant. It all looks good, but you gotta pick one.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? I'll let you off the hook. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. The next hand up I see is Robert.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Good evening, everyone. Robert Pulaski here, calling in from Southgate, Wayne County. Just want to say great job, you, Mr. Oglesby. It was a wonderful presentation, and I really, there's a lot for you. I have a lot for you. I'm just going to put it at that. So a lot.
We'll be able to talk offline. We'll stick to just what I'm doing here, and then I know how to get in touch with you. We'll take it to the next level.
I'm going to speak on one topic, and this is the one that really is concerning to me. The transit connection hubs, as you all know, the state fairgrounds, you had my big support on, and I have big support for fixing Northland, especially. Northland really needs help, especially how it's set up, but most of all, Makima Ross. It's finally great that we're going to see the Maross Greenway get some use out of it. But the problem with the Maross Greenway is how it's going to be set up, how the traffic is going to be able to flow. The one suggestion I'd like to make is traffic control, because as you all know, Makima Ross is a busy corridor, not just for bus riders, it's for drivers. And crossing that street is hit and miss because some people aren't paying attention and there's not a cop around or a transit cop to even look after it. There's only bus cleaners. So if we were to redevelop that corridor, we really need traffic control or a police officer or something down there to maintain the crowd and maintain traffic and also crack down on crime as well. Other than Northland really needs to be redeveloped because how it's set up, For someone that has not been to Detroit and comes to Southfield for the first time, they are going to be lost. They are already lost because how it's set up, where you're supposed to catch the 405, where you're supposed to catch Greenfield. All of it's set up ever since Northland left has been a complete mess. And I really would like to see Northland really redevelop and make it somewhat of a small transit hub for all routes to come in and make their transit stop or make their connection there, especially with SMART.
We're
But
at
other
2
than that,
minutes, sir.
sorry about that. But other than that, I will definitely get in touch with whatever I have left for you and just, because of the lack of time and everything else. But other than that, you're doing a great job reinstating 2 routes. I see. Just keep up the great work. And yeah, we'll be in touch.
Absolutely. So just real quick, Robert. So you're looking at this list here, and of all of these, which one's your top one? Which one's the least favorite to you?
Well, I see us turning into SEPTA in Philadelphia with the advanced fare technology, but I see mostly we're turning into SEPTA, which is a great thing. So we're getting there. The transit connection hubs are the main thing for me because there's a lot of, look at Rosa Parks. I was just down there a couple days ago and it's terrible. It's terrible to see it the way it is now, especially at night.
Robert, respectively, we got to keep moving. What's your least favorite? Or if we remove, we got transit connection hub. We gotta get to your second one.
I would have to put it as at least. That's a hard one. I'm sorry.
See, that's hard for everybody. See,
I'm sorry. I'm
Well-
sorry I'm taking up time here, but seriously, this is a hard one to pick.
okay.
Well,
What we'll do is you can put it in the chat and let us know. We'll keep it moving.
I don't
So
think you're
think
gonna
on
get
it.
that.
Okay. All
Thank you.
right.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Mr. Verse, I see your hand is the next one up.
Well, I hope I don't get cut off, but I do say I am glad to be here and I am impressed by the presentation. However, I have a serious problem before we even get to what I might like or don't like. And that this presentation was kind of sprung on us out of the blue. I feel like I'm ambushed, like almost to the point of being knocked off my horse and you taking your foot off my neck and put it in my mouth. Because it didn't really give time for prep for this. I thought the day would be a day to find out when we were going to have these meetings about the ARPA funding.
Mr. Verse.
Because the way it's come,
There will be more. This was, go ahead.
Mr. Verse, did you catch the beginning of the presentation?
Yes, I caught the beginning of the
very good.
presentation. If there's time, there will be other. But this is about this. Because it's not going to have enough time, more than likely, to take actual writer complaints, which is what one of the primary purposes of the meeting is.
You can still place those complaints or comments in the chat or in the or email us. We are still listening to those, and we have our staff standing by who are answering any that are placed in the chat.
Okay, now to answer your question that you asked. What do I like most? I like transit hubs with some modification. It's not quite clear exactly what you're going to do. If I had to object, it would be enhanced fare technology because it's not clear exactly what you mean, and I don't think a mid-bus fare pay would be equitable, really. And I don't think it would work. I think it would create a whole lot of problems for the driver who doesn't get enough to begin with, because then he's gonna have to really play cop. And he's gonna have to come behind this barrier, which really isn't any real protection, and expose himself. And I yield the balance of my time. Thank you.
Well, hold on, Mr. Verse, before you go. Thank you for your information. You know, I respect you 100%. Our goal was not to spring anything on anyone. The goal was actually to get this in front of as many people as possible, and it's going to continue. I'm going to partner with you and anybody else that wants to partner as we move forward. And this exact same presentation will be brought to the next meeting, April 6th, and then the one after that, and the one after that. So you'll have plenty of time to chew on it and come back and give me any input you want. Is that fair?
No. but it's acceptable.
Well, all right. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Well, there's a difference between fair and acceptable. And yes, as a member of DPP's Transit Justice Team, I'm definitely obligated to try to get as many people to the next meeting as possible.
That's right. And that's who I'm going to be partnering with. Hopefully I'll be partnering with you all at the next meeting. So we'll talk further.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I hope I didn't hurt anybody's feelings. If I did, no, I don't apologize because that's me. But have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Next.
Thank you, Mr. Verse. And the next hand up I see is Renard.
All right, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. First of all, thank you, Ddot and Director, for putting together this hearing. I think it's just really important to have public input as our federal dollars are coming in to improve the system. So I'm going to right off the bat say I really like the idea of the bus stop shelter investment, sans or minus the green light. I told y'all before, I'm resolutely opposed to any sort of technology that uses facial recognition that has a 97% error rate with identifying Black bus riders. So everything on that bus stop shelter except for the green light, the cameras are fine, surveillance is okay, but using the green light, which is a private company collecting surveillance on people who are just trying to ride the bus as well too, I don't like that. I don't know how they store their information, the likeness, and it's not publicly accountable. But I would say, yes, invest this $20.4 million in bus stop shelters and seating, because that's something that the community really needs, especially those who can't stand for a long period of time. That's something that has been a major, major issue with Detroiters, not just in downtown or major hubs, but across the entire city. People who use the entire system. And I would be remiss if I didn't say I want, instead of the 10 million just be taken for fares, why not convert that into a program and fetch additional monies into the low-income fare program? So one, this would expand the reduced fare category for those that are homeless, low to no income, veterans, and returning citizens. Those people ride the bus a lot, right? But still have trouble affording the fare. A lot of churches and nonprofits spend money at full price for these fares. So if there's some sort of qualifying program, this will help not only providers, but riders as well. That increases ridership, that fetches more state and federal money as well. I think the program, instead of just taking it and capturing it for fares, turn it into a program, but that's separate. So these are really good, especially the Rosa Parks Transit Center. So I know you're gonna ask me what to take away. As much as I like futuristic ways of paying for stuff, right? Detroit's a cash king city. So I could sacrifice $4 million for that, right? And I don't want to take from nothing else.
Okay, no, that's all right. It's just, I'm just saying one-on-one. So just to let you know, though I have the numbers there, that's the projection outward. They can change depending on what your priorities are. So thank you for your input. We're going to put the program low fare program part up in the list of, I see a few people have requested that to be put in. I think it's going to require probably more of a discussion as far as how do you make that a longevity program, even if we could pull it off 1 year, and again, we're going to be talking at our next meeting, and I hope you'll be helping me out to kind of try to work through those pieces. But right now, what you've identified is going to be very helpful. So thank you.
Thank you. Director, I just wanted to say, when the ASO person is speaking, can you please spotlight them so those with unlimited hearing can know what we're saying? There's someone in the chat saying they cannot see the ASO speaker. Thank you.
They're actually spotlighted, so it might be on their view because actually our interpreters are spotlighting themselves. So I thank you for that. So we did see that comment, but they are actually in control and they are spotlighted.
There's somebody, so if somebody
They
is
might
not,
have to.
what do they have to do?
they might need to adjust on their Zoom, their view. Like they might need to change it. Is the side-by-side view or gallery view or something like that.
Okay. And one of the reasons why we're
It's like-
trying to keep this up, but if I take it down, then it'll be hard to have people, memorize it.
So you're right. They might need the side-by-side because that's like how ours, but they are definitely Spotlight. That was one of the things that they control.
Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you, Renee.
Okay, great. The next hand up I see is Woodward Fast bus rider and Detroit resident. So please state your name for the record after you unmute yourself.
Yes, hello, my name is Joanne Warwick, and I'm going to take a little liberty. I still don't forgive the city for selling off the historic state fairground and demolishing the historic buildings. I thought that was just an absolute disgrace, and no world-class city would ever do such a thing. I would say bus stop shelters. And I missed part of the presentation. I do understand connection hubs would be important, but shelters, I don't know if there's any kind of technology that can help maybe shade the light, maybe in the summer, seating. Just throw something out there, not that you got the money for it, but in San Francisco, whenever they do any kind of transit improvement, there always has to be an art component. Maybe that could be grant money, or something. I wouldn't take the money from this because I think we need the shelters, but I mean that could make all these places kind of unique and special. But maybe you can get the guys who shell out to keep the mayor in place to shell out some more for this.
Well, I will tell you, I'm glad that you mentioned our program. I am working with the city on trying to find some locations and to incorporate something like that. We're trying to price it out and see where it would come from. It wouldn't come from these Arpa funds, but I just wanted to let you know we are thinking about that. So I appreciate your info, and we're going to add it to our list.
And I mean, they do it in the design. That doesn't mean you have a Van Gogh painting at every stop.
I understand.
It's kind of a, it's just sort of the design or something. And I think, seating is important because unfortunately people have to sit for, wait a long time, and not everybody can handle that. So
Fantastic.
I know I like the top 4, and Mary Sheffield wants showers at the Rosa Parks Transit Center. Oh, do you want me to say what I would take away?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, the bottom 2, I echo Renard's thing. I'm not into more surveillance technology, although I gotta say, I don't ride the bus a lot late at night, but I don't know. I go around this city. I'm not really afraid to go too many places except to the mayor's meetings. But yeah, I would probably, I just think we need those physical structures to protect people.
Fantastic. No, I appreciate it. And yes, when we start looking, if the end result is bus stop shelters, and we look at top of the line from a shade standpoint. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, see, can I just say, I did miss the beginning. When you say bus stop shelter, does that automatically include the seating? Or
Yes.
is seating something else? Okay. So
Yes.
the bus stop seating is then what? I'm sorry, I missed that.
So that's all right.
Actual buses?
As a matter of fact, this might be good for everybody. So let's go back. So when we were talking about we have shelters there, which is, that's just an idea of what one would look like with real-time next trip technology. Then you go to the next one, and the next one is bus stop seating, potential seats that can be put in various locations. These that are shown right now are just places that we could very quickly have a place for people to sit where there's no concrete pad. These are called semi-seats. They fit over a pole and somebody just has somewhere to just sit down. And it could also be benches. It could be anything pertaining to seating, but that's what this pot is for.
But where are those at? They're at a place.
They're
Does it have a bus shelter?
right now, they're no place, but if we moved forward with it, they would be located at every place where there's not a place to sit. So for example, right now, if you said, this is what I'd like to see, we would find 400 locations that people need to have a seat that don't have it, and we'd install them.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah,
Alrighty.
I like that idea for both, of course, but
Okay.
bus shelters for the elements that are very important.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, great. The next hand up I see is Hank Kelly.
Hello, can I be heard?
Yes.
Yep, we can hear you.
Hi, I just wanted to let folks know that this is Hank Kelly, Senior Policy Analyst for Councilmember Santiago Romero and for District 6 in Detroit, and I am listening. We also encourage anyone to reach out to the council member via 313-224-2450 or at councilmember Gabriella at detroitmi.gov. The budget hearing, we are in budget season. The budget hearing for Ddot, if you are interested in some longer term investments that may be recurring budget items that are not ARPA for Ddot, you can please let us know. The budget hearing for Ddot is going to be next Wednesday at 2 p.m. And that concludes my comment. Thank you so much for hosting this informational session.
Very good, thank you. And just for the public's knowledge, this is beyond an informational session. This is actually a session for the public to give input on how to spend the ARPA funds. That's the focus of this. If anybody has any other information they'd like to provide, feel free to put it in the chat. But again, we have limited time and we're trying to make sure that everybody gets input on these ARPA funds. Of course, we're going to do these meetings again, but this is valuable time that we need to make sure that people have their input. I don't want to move forward in the future and have people say they didn't have an opportunity. So if we can keep the comments pertaining to the actual ARPA funds, I'd appreciate it. Next caller.
Okay, Mr. Tansley, your hand is up next.
Hi, thank you for the chance to talk here. I think for me, I have concerns around, I'm going to start with what I would take away first. So I have concerns around the green light program and the way we talk about safety. I think there needs to be a larger conversation on that, especially bringing in, particularly in prioritizing the voices of the female ridership for Ddot buses. I think that's really critical if we want to truly get to a place where we can say that riding the bus is actually truly safe here at all times. So I think that's aside from that. What I do support, however, is I think there needs to be, which I didn't see particularly, I saw a slight mention of, I do think we need to consider a bathroom network, a public bathroom network, or at least wayfinding for those who do support bus riders in their bathroom needs, like businesses that won't charge you to use the bathroom or businesses that would allow you to use the bathroom publicly. I think that's a high priority. But I also support whatever really makes the buses run faster in this city and gives them more priority in the public spaces on the streets. I do think that the enhanced fare has a quality to it that allows for that to some degree, makes the bus run a little bit faster. But I think just overall having that priority in mind and making the system run faster is something that's pretty high on my list too.
Okay, very good. So Ted, thank you for your information. So if you were to pick one and take one away, which one would it be?
Well, I said that I would pick bathrooms and the
that would be top, right?
Yeah, bathrooms would be top.
Okay, and then what
take,
would you take away?
I think that would line up with what's under the shelters currently,
Yes.
particularly the green light, because I think we need to have a broader conversation there.
Absolutely. And just to let you know, again, bus stop shelters are the focus there. We added some additional pieces underneath. And again, you've given other ideas that we'll just add underneath it also. Just because we're going with bus stop shelters, the green light part is just an idea. So thank you for your
Okay.
input. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Next hand up I see is Nate Mullen.
Hello, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Nate Mullen. I'm a resident and a parent in the city, and I really appreciate the meeting. I just want to echo some of the conversations that are happening in the chat. I think this is exciting that we are going to be able to use this funding to improve the bus system in the city. I think the thing that I think is just really important to lift up that other folks have already said is that I would like to see a line item for Project Greenlight. I think that there's a lot of like safety mechanisms that are being proposed in the transit connection hubs that I think could actually work a lot better in the shelters area. I think the best way we can keep bus riders safe in the city of Detroit is buses running on time, not surveillance, because that also keeps riders safe from the elements. It keeps riders safe from private vehicles, which I also think need to be acknowledged when we talk about like safety on this system. Yeah, so that's what I think. I think all the other things make a lot of sense. I think it's exciting to think about all the other things that y'all are like putting forward. So those are my kind of like notes. Last note, maybe the last note I would just say before I end my comment is that I think that all the seating should be considered with the shelters. If anything, like those two should be combined, because I think we live in a city with 4 seasons and each one of those seasons requires some sort of shelter. All right, I will conclude my comment unless there's some specific question.
Yeah, one question. So I understand what you like. Which one is the least? Or you're saying anything related to green light? Is that what you would say?
I would, Director Osby, I would love us to have that broken out as a separate line item in that 20 million. I think that would be super important to see. And then everything else, I think we all know this, which is why this is hard, is that the system is historically underfunded. So to ask us to not have one of these things when all of them are necessary is right. We're taking water out of a bucket with a hole in it.
Well, but you have to realize that's where I'm at. I have a certain amount of money and I can only do so much with it. I agree. I think we need all of it. But
Absolutely.
I have to find a way to prioritize it. So your input's important. The portions of your input that aren't necessarily directly related to ARPA, we're actually going to mark them down because I think there are other ways that we can attack some of the other stuff you're talking about outside of ARPA funds. That's why I enjoy having this meeting because, it lets you see what I'm dealing with. I have $41 million, well, 51, but 41 million. I'm going to try to find the other 10 million, hopefully, through other grants. That's why I'm keeping it at 51. But I have to find this funding. So see, that's the tricky part. It's almost like it doesn't,
The one thing I would just say is like, feel free to lean on us in the community to help support and find funding to support you in this work. Because I think that yeah, we are all tasked with this responsibility to not be able to do what we need to do because the system's been underfunded.
Yes.
And I think the one thing I think for us to think about is really think about safety through bus timeliness. And I would say like architectural safety. So safety again from the elements and from private drivers. And I think that's really what makes sense. And I also think that which I think you already are planning on it, but the connection hubs ideally are a shared project with SMART. So ideally that number can just grow because we should not be responsible to improve. We should not be alone and responsible in improving transit system that SMART also uses, right? So ideally we can share some of that funding and maybe RTA can also support that project, which would ideally maybe push our number down because we're pooling funds rather than Ddot being solely responsible for it.
Very good. And that's exactly why I need the input. That was the plan. So that's why I'm leaving at the 51 million. There are possibilities to make this work. So thank you for your input.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. The next hand up I see is Chrissy. So please state your full name for the record.
Hello, this is Chrissy, and I agree with a lot of what everyone was sharing as far as keeping this, well, putting funds towards the seating and shelter, because a lot of riders are sitting out there for up to almost 2 hours. As far as the takeaway, the technology, like the green light, and the payment system, I see you guys introduce the Ddot card, which is, I guess, a connection with smart buses. And so that's working pretty efficiently. And so maybe not as much funding really needs to go towards that. And like the gentleman said earlier, Detroit is mostly a cash system. So, I mean, we could put funding towards that technology, but it's not top priority. Now, as far as the gentleman was saying earlier about in the chat about after hours, I noticed with Smart, they have after hours customer service, and they also have signage on their bus sign that kind of says the time that the bus comes and what routes are coming through that area. So it'd be nice if maybe we mimicked their system a little bit, since they are more seamless and efficient in the way that they operate. Maybe we could have some of those bus signs having the routes and the time that the bus would come. And then if the bus is taking maybe an hour longer than usual, if you call after hours, you can actually speak with someone who could let you know if the bus had broken down or if that bus is just not going to come today at all, so that that rider could start making other plans to maybe, I don't know, catch an Uber or Lyft. Because I've actually been in that situation where I was waiting an hour to 2 hours for a bus to show up, and it never showed up. But I couldn't speak to anyone because it was after hours, and Ddot didn't have anyone. But when I got Taylor, the smart bus system, their after hours actually had someone to speak to, and they let me know like, oh, the bus got stopped.
Okay, so I hear you. I agree with you with everything except that Smart is seamless and we're not. We've done a lot of changes in our system to try to be as seamless as possible, and our counterpart did cut service about 15% or so. So we're all kind of in the same boat after the pandemic. But I will tell you, as we're coming out of it, we're going to take especially the customer service piece. I agree with you. That's actually a topic that I'm trying to take outside of Arpa, because the Arpa funds are one-time funds over a 3-year period, and the customer service solution has to be ongoing. But we are attacking that. I appreciate you putting that information in.
Thank you. And I hope I made what money. Now, as far as additions, as other people were saying earlier, if there are additional funds available, as far as maybe, I think I heard you guys say about bike lanes earlier. Did you mention bike lanes? Okay.
No, we talked about bike. We talked about in the transit hubs, there's options for all of that. So there's bike racks, bike lanes, the whole shot.
Okay.
That's in transit hubs.
Yeah, we're becoming more of a bike city. If I don't know if you guys are over in this department, but if there could be bike lanes added to Schoolcraft and along Greenfield, but that's just an addition for whatever department is over that could consider.
Understood. Thank you very much. And again, everybody, thank you. We're trying to get everybody in, and I am going to stay until we do get everybody in. But if you could just tell me which one you think is a top priority on the list, which one is a low priority, or if you have one that you want to add to it. If we could keep it there, I'll be able to get everybody in. So Kristen, if you get next caller.
Yep. The next hand up I see is Ingrid.
Awesome. Thank you for having this. I'm going to try and get this as quickly as possible. I definitely appreciate your sitting through all of this, Director Oglesby. My number one preference is bus shelters, seating, and as well as the shelters themselves. My number two preference is subtracting 1.5 million or half the on-bus safety amount of money and adding it to seating so that it's greater than the $500,000 that it is right now. Three things that I would like to say quickly. One is the chat being disabled really during the presentation really means that people who have a lot to say can't say it, can't make those comments during the presentation to cut down time, or if our time is needed somewhere else. It doesn't allow us to participate as much. if the chat is disabled. That's one thing. The other thing is that community Zoom meetings is something that I've really enjoyed with the Detroit Land Bank. And so having 4 or 5 ideators from that are Detroit residents on a Zoom call, as opposed to, I don't know how many voices are on here now. That's kind of cool to have not just not complaints at all, but ideators, problem solving. And the third thing I'd like to say is that I would really like to see, and it's not one of the, it could be for all of the buckets, but primarily for the bus shelter bucket, is a digital challenge for high schoolers to engage them, to have some skin in the game in considering staying in Detroit and or shaping Detroit. And the challenge can combine focus group functionality to find out what technologies they think should be employed in the bus shelter, as well as funding for extracurricular activities. And I'm not sure how that comes out of a bucket, but cool. And digital challenges where people that are integral, to curriculum in the classroom can increase participation amongst the high school kids. I'd love to see them stay.
And you know, that sort of falls under the Rosa Parks bucket, where we have an opportunity. There was a mention of something to do with the youth. Perhaps that could be one of the items. So we're going to mark that down. I'm going to enhance our presentation and write down everything that you said, and we'll make sure at the next meeting that we just keep collecting. But
I think
yes,
that the youth are really invested in shelters as much as the Rosa Parks Transit Center. And I think shelters and seating, having a challenge that revolves around a very small thing, a very small footprint that is easy for them to wrap their mind around and get involved in, the shelters and seating, as opposed to the Rosa Parks Transit Center, which is huge.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Stephen Boyle, I see your hands up next.
Hello. My number one priority is going to be the shelters. And I know that I've previously stated this, and I've provided an awful lot of input on it. And I'm really glad to see the details of the input that has been provided showing up in this meeting in the description for the shelters. Things like internet service and USB ports and things like that is super important. We need lighting around the clock. And it may be able to dim in the evening or something, just so that it's enough light rather than it being blazing. But you know, whatever works. And it would be great to actually have a public safety phone inside the shelters, kind of like around Wayne State University. They use a blue light to designate the safety phones. That might be another add to the shelters program. Because we know that, you know, people do have issues that happen. You can just talk to the public safety at Wayne State that, you know, their phones are used. I do think that if our bus system had these types of phones, we would have a much higher chance of thwarting an awful lot of crime. What would I take away from? You know, some of the on-bus safety, some of the things about safety and crime, I honestly think that when you're looking for crime, you find crime. And unfortunately, we have people that are employed to look for crime. It's not exactly a great thing, but it is what it is. On the bus safety, there's ways to do it and there's ways not to do it. Green light program, I'm very much against the green light program because it's just not accurate in many situations. And I think we've plowed so many dollars as a city into this, and I'm very disappointed by it.
So, Stephen, I will say this. I actually took the idea of the bus stop shelter information from you. You were the one who told me about it quite some time ago, so I utilized it.
I appreciate that. I really do. And I think that, you know, I've spent so many years standing at these bus shelters or even a lack of bus shelter. We need to actually plan the glass on those so that it matches the prevailing winds so that it's not literally catching wind.
Right.
That's important.
One more thing I wanted to add, and I'm sorry, I know we only have a certain amount of time, but I'm trying to get in as much as I can. I want to address some of your things. When it comes to bus stop safety, I want everybody to know it's just not about surveillance. I know that there was a lot of information that was put on, so I think the green light thing's getting muddled a little bit. It wasn't a thought of green light actually on the buses. The safety portion was to enhance the existing cameras that are on there because we have old antiquated cameras. And then more importantly, bus stop safety could mean something else, like the electronic air filters that make it safe from an air quality standpoint. So there is an opportunity to put money in this that has nothing to do with employing, let's say, police or anything like that.
I would also say that you might want to select a few shelters to actually do air quality monitoring at. And some of those kits can be super cheap and affordable. And if we know what the air quality is around, I know our freeways, we have a serious lack of oxygen. Anybody that's walked across a bridge over one of these freeways, literally, it takes your breath away. And we need to realize that when you have a lack of oxygen, especially for our young people, they're learning deprived because their brains just don't get enough oxygen to learn with. And I appreciate all the time that you've offered me. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Appreciate it. Kristen, let's try to get through as many as we can.
Yes, sir. Next is Callie Wang.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Director Oglesby to Ddot staff. My name is Callie Wang from Motor City Freedom Riders. I want to thank you guys so much because you put together a whole menu of great options, and it's really tough to pick just one. But I would like to comment to prioritize the bus shelters, the seating, and the connection hubs. You know, our members have repeatedly identified better facilities for bus riders as a huge priority. Right now, many places don't have shelters at all, and we're really excited that there's going to be a lot more of them and a lot better facilities to wait at, especially in the winter, especially with the really long waits that we have. So I want to commend you on that.
Okay, very good. Which one would you take away though?
I would deprioritize the on the bus safety. I know many people have made comments about the security cameras and things that I agree with, as well as the enhanced fare technology.
Okay.
I think the fact is a lot of people are using cash right now, so that needs to be backed up with more investments to get people using any kind of smart cards or mobile apps to really get the most benefit out of it.
Fantastic.
You know, they're all things that I'd like to see, but I think the priority right now is the bus stops, the shelters, having a good place to wait, opening up Rosa Parks Transit Center, making it a welcoming place. I know some riders have told us that they weren't allowed to sit inside the transit center, ostensibly for COVID reasons.
We're getting ready to reopen that within a month.
That's awesome. We love to see it.
Yep, no problem.
Yeah. Another possibility I like to raise is maybe using some of the ARPA funds as one-time bonuses for Ddot workers. That might help with the recruitment and with retention. So we'll have an easier time getting back to pre-COVID levels and have a faster time doing so. I know many people are commenting about the 2-hour waits that they're experiencing. And I know we can't have, permanent pay adjustments as part of ARPA, but maybe as a one-time bonus to get more people to sign up and to stay on the job. That's something where the impact should really be explored.
Very good.
To boost the service.
Okay, thank you. I'll put that in. I saw in the chat also somebody mentioned one-time incentives, so they're going to mush together as bonus and incentives, which would be applicable. So I appreciate it.
Mm. And also, I love, again, like a lot of these, they're all amazing. So I really want to see more funding overall, including the air purifiers. That's something that going forward is going to be really important.
Well, again, We have a certain amount of money, but I will tell you again, for everybody that's listening, the goal is for me to prioritize. I'm not really as concerned about the money, because once we prioritize it and we know where we are, we're going to use as much of the ARPA money as we can to get what you need, and then we're going to find other funding to get the rest. So we're going to get there. Okay.
That's exciting.
Okay, very
One
good.
more thing about
Well,
one shelter.
everybody only gets 1 minute. I'm giving you 5. You get
All
one
right.
more minute. We get 30 seconds.
All right. As part of the shelter aspect, could we have more signs? Just better signs. Many stops just say bus stop. It doesn't tell you what routes are and what hours are. And final thing with the connection hubs, I would say look to Toronto, because they're one of the pioneers of designing routes that connect and placing the bus stops accordingly. So great job.
Great. And if you have anything else, put them in the chat or come to our next meeting. We'll come to all the meetings. How's that?
Love it.
All right, fantastic. Next caller.
Okay, great. Phone number ending in 818.
Bad Unity on Facebook, and 313-444-9114. How you doing, Mr. Oglesby? He probably got off the line, but
No, I'm listening to you. No, I waited for you. I would not leave until I heard your voice.
so you know, a year and a half, 2 years ago, I've been talking about retention bonuses and sign-in bonuses and all that stuff, and even in the interview with Bryce Huffman, and that's something we need. I've been talking about it for a long time. It was in an article.
Okay.
That's something we need. And even in Southfield at the Northland area, they need lighting out there. I've called, Brenda Lawrence, and et cetera. But when I'm out there in the taxi, I'm seeing women and children. It's so dark and black at night. I feel bad for them. It's very dark. You know.
What area? What area are you talking about? Because this is outside of ARPA funding. We may be able to look at that. Where at?
So at Northland Mall, you know how they
Yes.
they moved that strip right there. So
Mhm.
when it gets dark outside, it's not lit up enough. It needs those temporary lights. I think 2 years ago they had temporary lights that were like super bright, like for baseball games. Those kind of lights that
Mhm.
run off fuel or whatever. But it was super bright. They haven't had those this season, and so it's very dark at night at the Northland Transit area.
Okay.
I forgot what street that is. It's a McDonald's, and then it's a street.
Well, I'll have staff go out and take a look at it, but that's something we work with the city
At
on.
night,
So that's
after-
that's outside of the ARPA fund stuff.
Okay, but,
All right.
and that's cool.
Uh-huh.
And again, the retention, the sign-in bonuses. I
Okay.
think I don't like the green light. I think that should be ex-nade and the surveillance ex-nade. And also, I would like to partner with you if, as it regards to next week. I've been an activist for a very long time in the city of Detroit, and passionate about it. If
Oh,
that
don't
is
worry,
possible.
don't worry about it. We're gonna get you involved. I'm gonna need you to spread the word. So again, I had mentioned that I want to make sure that I'm co-sponsored by the Detroit People Platform, by Transit Riders Union, Motor City Freedom Riders. If we have anything that you could hand out, we'll utilize you any way we can. So I'm on it.
All right, Mr. Ogle,
Okay.
thank you. And activists, keep it up. We got to get out there.
Yes, sir.
Apathy is bad.
So we're going to add again, that's another one for incentives. So again, we have that as one of the additives amongst a bunch of things, and we're just going to keep taking input. Next caller.
Raymond Simpson.
Good afternoon. Good evening, rather.
Good evening.
A couple things. Our office, I work for the Office of Council President Mary Sheffield. We submitted a memo asking that showers be installed at the transit center using ARPA funds. If we cannot use ARPA funds, it's going to be requested during budget. In addition to that, wanted to know if a bus stop can be moved in front of an address, and if possible, I can have a contact for our office to in case of any concerns directly.
Okay, so I'm going to have staff contact you to get the contacts and everything that you need. Thank you for your information. Again, we're going to try to focus this to the Arpa fund piece. But yeah, I'm familiar with the request. I didn't get the shower request directly, but I'm sure eventually it'll get there or be addressed in the budget meeting. I'll be addressing city council next week. All right.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Next caller.
Okay, thank you. Next is Claire.
Hi, this is Claire from True. I live in Hamtramck. I'll try and keep this short, but I am very, very pro seating. As someone with chronic pain, like not all of us can stand out there as long as even a normal Ddot headway, let alone the current situation that I know you guys are working on improving. You know, like standing in, especially when you factor in transfers, you know, you're just, that can be a lot for people who can't do that. And, you know, as a urban planner who's done some work around making cities more senior friendly too, it's better for seniors, it's better for families when you have seating, it's just better. So yay, seating. I'm also, I'll echo what Ted said in the chat and say I also am pro air filtration. I think that's an underappreciated thing that we keep hearing evidence can really help in the current moment. And even when we're done with this thing, you know, flu, bugs, when you sit next to a sneezer, whatever, love the air filtration. Like many other commenters, not into green light or surveillance. I would take money from that. Having been to a bunch of police commission hearings where that was approved, I saw the process and it was not great. Yeah. And it's already resulted in wrongful arrests of at least one Black person in Detroit.
Understood. So I think one of where green light came in the presentation, I was talking about bus stop shelters, and there are other things that can be put in. So for example, if you did like the bus stop shelters and you did like the next trip real-time bus displays, lighting, USB charging ports, and improved maintenance and cleaning, we could still go down that route without the green light camera. So I appreciate everybody's input, but don't get to a point where you say you don't like green light, so you don't like bus stop shelters. We can just take green light out. So that's not a problem. So I just don't want people to get, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm very much pro shelters like in a winter city. And those include seating. But yeah, not so much with green light, especially if they're gonna be in neighborhoods, you know, if that's just like on your corner and you got a camera, not everyone's gonna want that. So
very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Next caller.
Cindy Dara.
Yeah, I put some stuff in the chat. And thank you. You're the first city meeting I've been to other than the Charter Commission for Revision that opened up the chat. So I commend you, but you're right. You need to have it open when you start your presentation too, so people can start
to tell you honestly, I did not know that took place. I'm going to work on that to make sure the next few meetings it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, well, I want to tell you, this is the first city meeting since I listened to the Charter Commission revision. They're the only ones open up chat, or you know who's there. I keep telling this other city departments that they're breaking the Open Meetings Act by closing the chat and not letting us see who else is there that wants people to know who's there so they can chat with their friend or whatever. You know, it's not right. But anyway, I want to say this. I think you guys need to take a bigger bite of the apple. And so we need a green economy. We need people to use mass transit. And we've got to somehow really sell it as both, it's the right thing to do for the environment, and then make it free to everybody. So you don't even spend time collecting fees. You just, you figure out how to do it on the taxes on the gas, because that's what you're trying to cut down. So this and take the money out of the military right now. Quit spending all this money on the fucking arming the whole world. This
Language,
is insane.
language.
So I mean, I think we got to take a bigger view. I really
Well,
do.
I-
And
I-
demand. This is a national demand that we should be making. That we shouldn't be trying to argue over. Well, can we do this or that? If you want people to cut down their use of automobiles, maybe they want to do it in solidarity with cutting back so we don't we hurt the Russian oil thing. That's good, but they need to we need to help them do that so they can help the environment and we can help politically. You know, if you really want to help figure out how, and I don't know how you do it but the Chinese, they make a lot of stuff. But of course, our companies all moved over there because they can get cheaper labor. But so I just want to say, you need to expand and demand these things. If you want, now my brother said they'd spend a lot of money on mass transit where he lives and nobody uses it. So you've got to figure out how you're going to get people to use it, because I see this I've been here since '67, and at night you see these huge buses going by with nobody in them, or maybe one person or two. And so even running those big vehicles at night might be cheaper to have some kind of a Uber thing that we subsidize or we run our own Uber.
Cindy, I
Sarah, that's
appreciate.
time. That's time.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So Cindy, thank you for the information. What you're talking about is outside of ARPA, but very important. We are going to actually, since we're focusing on ARPA for this meeting, we are going to be moving forward in the future with, we mentioned a COA, which is a larger view of how to improve transportation in the city of Detroit. Here, we have a certain part of money that I want the people to tell me how to spend. So I want to keep the focus on this pot of money. It's probably the first time in a long time the riders from the city of Detroit get an opportunity to tell Ddot exactly how to spend the money. So thank you for your input. You make some very valid points. We're going to take note of what you've talked about. And I invite you, when you hear Ddot Reimagined or the COA, to come and give your input, and there you'll be able to speak as much as you want from a global standpoint, and we'll attack those items together. Next caller.
Mr. Oglesby, before our last caller, I wanted to mention that Marguerite in the comments asked specifically about green space and bathroom areas for service dogs. So perhaps that could be a note under the hubs and connections.
Yes, thank you, Marguerite. Yes, we will put that in the notes as, and again, that can go towards a lot of these buckets. You could look around the shelters, around the seating, Rosa Parks enhancement, transit connection hubs. That could be a piece within all of those items. So she brings up a very valid point, and we'll make sure that we take note. Should we move forward in any one of those 4 buckets, we'll make sure that that's included.
Okay. And phone number ending in 447.
You are the last caller for the night. (447).
Caller in 447, you can unmute yourself.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Kim Smith. I am with Detroit People's Platform's Transit Justice Team. I'm trying to understand when you say money towards bus stop seating and bus stop shelters. How is that not one and the same? I mean, would you have a shelter that doesn't have seating? Is that a thing?
Yeah, no, it's not the same. Could you go back to, because all shelters have seating. Could you go back to those 2 slides again? And then the next presentation, I'll make sure I go slower. So the shelters itself would be purchasing just shelters and putting them in a certain location. Right now we have 199 shelters, I believe. What I'm saying here is make sure that all of the shelters are updated we increase them about another 150 or so and put them throughout the city. That's shelters. Now let's go to seating. Seating would be either benches in different locations without shelter, because you can't put a shelter in every location. It requires a pad, but there is seating that is available in some areas that would be probably applicable in quite a few areas. We saw about 400 locations that could use just somewhere to sit. That a shelter wouldn't be able to be there. So this would just be to enhance it. You could have a bunch of new shelters and have this with additional seating on top of it. What the people are doing here is they're sitting on a thing called the semi-seat, which basically slides over a pole. So every place that there's a bus stop pole, there could be somewhere to kind of sit down. That's really the concept of this one.
Okay, so the benches, how would you make sure that those benches are made to last? Because I've seen benches made out of wood and over time they've collapsed under the weight of people or what have you.
Fantastic question. These seats that we are showing are various types of seats that are used in transit around the United States. So we'd make sure that if this was the decision that people wanted to go in, we would find the appropriate seating that would last. It's not a wood seat. There are some places, believe it or not, that do cement seats. And of course, you know, cement's going to last, but it's not comfortable. So you have to kind of find the happy medium. The seats that are shown here, they have a certain plastic coating that if you have a lot of sun beaming down on them, they don't get too hot and they don't get too cold. But again, we'd research that even more if this is what people thought were a positive. With that being said, I have a question for you. If we could go back to the last slide. And my question to you is, of everything that we've shown, which one is the top for you? And then which one would you take money from to pay for it?
Well, it would have to be the bus stop shelters and of course the seating if there's no shelters.
Right.
And you can take money from the enhanced fare situation.
Okay, no, thank you very much. We're going to write that down. So that's what we're going to do. Thank you, caller. Moving forward, that's how we're going to do it. We're going to put the options up. People have an opportunity to see it for the first time. And then now on the next go round, we'll put it up again and the same questions or more questions can be asked. We can keep adding to this, but ultimately I provided this as a base for you to say, this is everything that you all have said over the past 18 months. And now we're coming back to you with that list and it's time to enhance it. We will also make sure that we work out the kinks. I think this was very good for the first go round. It was not only first time for you, but it was the first time for us. So we're going to continue to improve as we move forward, work with the transit rider groups to get everybody to give input and take it to the next level. I believe Ayabami, that's it, right?
That is all. Thank you all for joining us. You know, thank you, Executive Director, for allowing more time so that everyone could be heard. Just based on tonight, we got a lot of great feedback. It looks like just from, again, tonight, the shelters and the connection hubs are definitely top priority. But we look forward to hearing more input in the future and we'll see you next month. But stay tuned to our website and social media for more information.
And let me just end by taking something from someone that just put in the chat room. Communication is key with the community. And I might put that on the next slide. All right, everybody, I appreciate you and thank you very much.